says, then you know it officially starts. Greetings, I'm Mike Blinder. I am publisher of E&P Magazine. This is one of many that we have been doing over the years of what we call a sponsored webinar, where we let our marketing partners at E&P, who obviously wish to benefit the industry with their products and services, to help do an educational session, not a salesy session. I promise you the next 45 minutes to an hour will not be a PowerPoint, where you're getting pitched. But we try to use the knowledge, their experience, case studies, if I may, in order for us to help our audience better find the sustainability in what we try to do here at E&P, which is support the local news publishing industry. So I want to officially welcome you. Audiences vary for specific topics, but then the recordings of these webinars come out sometimes within the same day and get shared amongst the industry. So you being live with us, the comments you make during it will be part of what people will be accessing for months, if not years to come. So before we get started, I'd like to do a little housekeeping, if I may. We are in Zoom, obviously. Zoom has many ways to communicate at the bottom of your screen. There is a Q&A button. I don't use that, and I hope you won't. There's a raise your hand button. I still don't understand what the heck that means. But there is a chat button or a chat box. That's where we want you to spend your time today if you feel the need to communicate. Chat, unfortunately, in Zoom defaults for some reason to host and panelist only. I'd like you to change that and make comments to the panel, me and Zach, or to the rest of the group, to everyone. I'd like the chat to be a group chat for the entire group. If you disagree with something said, say it. If you have a question, post it in there. And if we've embedded in the chat room Bree. Bree is like my main contact at our sponsor for this webinar, Rambunctious Rhino. She will be in there to answer any specific questions that Zach may address that has to do with their products and services. And feel free to even ask Bree a question if something, jazzes you about what these guys do. Let's test that now, making sure everybody then flips the default from host and panelist to everyone. Please say, hey, hello, welcome, or what city you're from, and we'll get started. All right, so it's time to start our webinar. And let me start off by saying we all know for years, publishers have been told that digital services are the future of local media revenue. And I not to bore you, but I go way back. Those of you that know me pre-EMP days, I was a guy, the roving troubadour that for 20 years went into hundreds and hundreds of markets all over the world, training sales reps and then training the advertising community on specific products and services. And I had the distinction to introduce the Gatehouse digital services when they first popped, when Gordon Burrell was screaming at the industry, digital services, that's the future, digital services. We must be offering things above and beyond our own products and services. I went into cities large and small introducing their products. And there's always been that debate about that. I mean, okay, do we have to sell digital services? Well, the answer many say is yes. Why? Maybe they're not our core competency. Maybe that's not, leveraging the editorial product that we send out to the world. As I like to say, we rent those eyeballs, but there's a lot of data that shows that the advertising community is pretty busy. Duh. And the average decision maker is only going to speak to a small amount of advisors. Call them ad reps, call them whatever you wish, service advisors, media advisors, what have you, sellers. And the last data I saw is the average small business basically talks to 2.3, I think was the number, outside people in the media sphere to advise them, consult them, or sell them products and services. So if they're going to be buying digital services, we like to say it should be in your toolkit. Of the many things that you today offer, and many mature media companies today offer a wide range of products and services. And as you can see from this data we gained from Burrell, there's a lot of them that are being sold. But here's the inconvenient truth, if I may use that overused term. Many publishers are reselling digital services at a thin or even low margins between fulfillment costs, agency markup, platform fees, reporting. I mean, when all in, even, the G&A fees you have behind it, what's left on the table for profit? So it's not the challenge today to many is whether digital advertising works. The challenge is knowing where the money actually goes, how performance is really being measured, and whether the way you've structured fulfillment is costing you critical margins when you're looking to get as much top line revenue as you can so you can eke out a sustainable business model. Today's conversation, I hope, is designed to help answer those critical questions for you. So I'd like to introduce my cohort in crime here today, and that is Zack Watson. Zack, if I may be so bold, and I think I am going to tell, I mean, when I first met you, you looked familiar to me because you have been in this industry for a pretty long time. The big question I have for you, sir, is why you look so young and I look so old. Because we we go way back. I mean, I hope you don't mind, but I stalked you on LinkedIn. And I mean, some of the positions you've held in this industry are pretty noteworthy. You were, digital lead at the Las Vegas Review Journal 2021, VP of digital advertising at the LA Times, which I assume means Josh from one of our fellow cohorts Josh from Noda, right? Josh Brando. You had some dealings with him over at the LA Times. Another genius in the industry, but is working more on the editorial side. Senior, the San Diego Union Tribune, a senior digital position at Get. Moreover, I call those the dark ages. You were back at the Denver Post when Ad Taxi was growing. And that was a customer of mine. Remember, I used to go out there and consult. So you've been for years being part of that era where we're all trying to figure this whole thing out. My first question to you is, what did that teach you? And why the heck did you go? I assume you moved from Vegas back to your hometown of Denver. Is that what happened? Because that's where you're based now, and start your own digital agency, Rambunctious Rhino. Is that the story, sir?
Yeah, essentially. After a long, strange trip through multiple media companies, great experiences, made it back to Denver, and formed Rambunctious Rhino in 2021. And what's interesting here too, when you're doing when you're going back through some of my previous experiences, that a lot of our core leadership now at Rambunctious Rhino actually met back at Ad Taxi. So our chief operating officer, Jillian Dudson, was running social back then, and her and I, sat next to each other, and she, been working on and off since then. So yeah, and we started Rambunctious Rhino in 2021 with the purpose of providing quality digital fulfillment at a reasonable price. I know it sounds simple, but really what prompted that focus on fulfillment efficiencies was watching publishers do everything right on the sales side, and then there still isn't money on the delivery side. I saw this firsthand at the various media companies. From being a frontline salesperson to the executive leadership roles. And so, what organizations, what I found that we often don't realize is that we're overpaying due to a litany of things, right? And like you listed some of those off at the beginning, but it's things like, paying, it's the arbitrage lost in paying wholesale CPMs for programmatic. It's different platform fees, it's software fees for reporting, software fees for CRMs, whatever it may be. And so, we looked at that and we knew that this was this is an issue for our industry, right? For media companies. And so, so we built our company around that. Some of our differentiating factors, I'd say, is that, we're 100% US based campaign managers. So everybody who is working on our clients' campaigns is based in the United States. We also enable one-to-one communication with those folks. So, whether it's the frontline salespeople on you guys' teams, or it's somebody from account management, when they're talking to our team, they are talking to the person who's pulling the lever. So there's not, a bunch of middle people playing telephone. We do management fee pricing across all platforms, and we include reporting with all your campaigns.
But who do you work with? I mean, obviously, we are a trade magazine for news media content producers, publishers. But do you work with agencies as well? Do you work direct with small businesses in your community? I mean, or is it mostly a white labeled service? Who are you really catering to?
About 90% of our business is white label. And it's newspapers and agencies. primarily, and a couple broadcast companies too. But those are our primary clients. And so, we work primarily in the background, and help our clients execute effective digital campaigns.
All right, so let's talk about when you first engage with a media company. And let's take this, they treat me like I'm a 3-year-old. Are you normally engaged with a media company when they first approach you? Are they saying to you, I'm doing digital services and I'm not making enough money. Can you give me better margins? Or do you sometimes approach by media companies that go, I don't sell this stuff. How do I sell it? And how do I make sure I have it in my bag of tricks, my toolkit to bring to local businesses? Or is it a modicum of both?
Well, I think now at this point, and you brought it up during the introduction, is that the publishing industry, we've been told for years that we need to sell digital services, and so most of the companies that we work with already sell the digital services. The problem that they have, though, is that the revenue that they're getting from these is not actually profitable once all the true fulfillment costs are baked in. So I think that that's one of the most common problems that we run into or I guess that our new clients bring up to us is that we're selling this stuff. We feel like we're doing the right thing. Our frontline people, they're grinding, they're working hard, they're getting the sales. But at the end of the day, we got a big top line number, but there's nothing at the bottom. And so I think that that's probably the biggest issue that we run into with folks because folks are selling it now. They understand it. A lot of our teams, one of the biggest changes that I've noticed from working, going back to working with the Ad Taxi Alliance team is what we used to call it, where we provided white label services to other media companies to now is that people know what they're selling. Our frontline sellers, they acumen's fairly high. A lot of the sales leadership understands what they're selling, but just they're having a tough time executing and being profitable now.
How about staying on top of new platforms? I mean, it's still a moving target. And I remember I go back to the dark ages when I was first, introducing search to advertisers and
Oh
then
yeah.
video and then
Yeah.
social. I mean, but now, I mean, it's not the same every year. I mean, how about things like Reddit, TikTok, Blue Sky? Do you find that some people are not advancing enough when it comes to how they can, I like to use that term, I used to use it all the time, the extended reach that media companies can offer today to a local business, correct? That's what this is all about.
Well, yeah, 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 exactly. I mean, and you touched on it at the beginning too. I mean, would you say 2.3 clients talked about 2.3 media companies, right? When they're planning their advertising buys, and they inherently trust a lot of trust our clients and their sellers, but one of the issues that they have is that they get put into these boxes of like standard fulfillment, right? So like, social's not just Meta anymore. I mean, the fragmentation of media has been, continuing since the internet and keeps compounding exponentially to where now, folks need to be able to execute on things like TikTok, Reddit, like you say, Blue Sky, Pinterest. We're getting a lot of our clients are seeing a lot of success right now from Reddit and and also leveraging TikTok. I mean, we have one of our partners is getting just as good of a cost per lead and qualified lead from TikTok as they are from paid search. So I think that that ability to adapt to new platforms and to understand what's working best is going to be key for us and our partners to be able to succeed.
Jeffrey here is asking, well, hey, Jeffrey, I like your question, but I think you're being the Vanna White. I'm going to flip the letter now and get into the next topic, which is the leakage, and then we can discuss the margins. So today's webinar, we entitled, Stop Overpaying for Digital Services, You Idiot. When you look under the hood at how publishers, no, because that's my job. My job is to boil down the benefit of attending. And in this
Yeah.
case, I mean, we cast a wide net to an audience. Not everybody in our audience is a seller. Many of them, are scholars who are teaching in an institution. But to the selling community or the margin community, we're saying you might be overpaying. When you look under the hood, how publishers have set up fulfillment, where do you most find the money leaking out? Where are the margins not happening, in your opinion, sir?
So, in my opinion, there's a couple of spots, right? So one is, so the holes in the bucket right now that I see a lot of times when working with clients are, it's the inefficiencies of platforms. They're paying for too many seats. They're paying a lot of money for reporting. I mean, huge software costs for reporting. Some of these folks, it's as much as multiple FTEs. And then of course, they got to pay folks to be able to run the software. But then also, a good amount of it's in programmatic arbitrage. One of the key differentiating factors of working with us and the way that we built our company, because we know that our clients need to recoup more margin, is we do management fee across the board. So if you're running programmatic display, if you're running connected television, if you're running search, if you're running Facebook, for each individual client, they'll have their own flat management fee across all those. And so, on the slide here, we have some clients recoup, 30% plus. Most people are recouping around 50% of a loss margin through programmatic arbitrage. Because what ends up happening is that, they'll sell something, wholesale to our clients. Like let's just say it's connected TV. They're selling it wholesale to them at like a $28 CPM or whatnot. Well, then there's a lot of money left there because that actual inventory was costing around 18 bucks. And so that's where you see a lot of loss margin across the programmatic landscape. I would also say that, where there's the obvious holes and there's things that are under the surface, and that's reworks, writing credits, trying to, spend time to band-aid issues with, cheap offshore or junior fulfillment teams. Where quite frankly, just the quality is just not there. You get what you pay for. Good things aren't cheap.
Well, no, to
Uh,
spell it out, when you say a junior or offshore fulfillment team, give me a scenario. What are we discussing here? Are we discussing just someone who doesn't even know what they're talking about, and you're working that doesn't understand?
well, I mean, I think that they know how to use the platforms to a certain level, but I think that a lot of our industry has been put in a tough spot where, I mean, they need to be able to provide these services, they need to be able to compete in the market, but then they also need to do it in a cost effective way. So they end up outsourcing to companies who then offshore to folks halfway around the world who are essentially working as like in a factory capacity. Just here's a ticket, run the thing. Here's a ticket, run the thing. Here's a ticket, run the thing. And there's not the cultural context. There's a lack of communication with your campaign manager. And quite frankly, it's just run like a quick factory. Get them in, get them out as fast as you can, and you lose a lot of quality there. And it's quite frankly, it's really tough to compete that way.
What do you mean by tools and seats here on this slide?
I think I would say mainly, let's just talk to dashboards like we talked to before. I mean, we have one client who was paying, roughly, $25,000 a month for software, for reporting software, just to be able to use the software, right?
Are you kidding?
It's
25.
very, very large company on the high end. But yeah, I mean, like even small, medium companies, I mean, they end up paying almost an FTE cost just to, be able to run dashboard software, just to be able to report on their campaigns. That's a big cost. And then the other thing too is, that the reports and the dashboards and stuff, like they don't run themselves, so like it's like they'll sell the software and then they expect the local media company or the media companies to have folks who own that then, right? And so they're in charge of making sure everything's set up, connecting all the different APIs, creating the dashboards for every single client, making sure the dashboards work. And they end up doing a lot of technical work, and so they're paying a lot of money for the software, and then they're also paying for the FTEs to be able to execute on the software.
So what is your alternative? I always this is mind-boggling. You could be paying so much money for a dashboard. What is the alternative? Do you have this all built into your models so that you're saving the cost? And how elegant is your reporting? Is it easy for any rep, even those that are less skilled, to be able to bring those critical, ROI numbers to an advertiser?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I mean, that is our solution. We include reporting with fulfillment. So every campaign gets a dashboard, and we work with our partners to create custom dashboards for them. That's in their branding. It's focusing on the metrics that they care about, that they focus on in their sales process with their clients. So we create custom dashboards and create that custom infrastructure. And then, as we run campaigns, we create a dashboard. It's just a part of our operations workflow. And our campaign managers are involved in that piece too, which I found to be extremely effective, because now you have the folks who are pulling the levers on the campaign bought into the end results. Because at the end of the day, like our clients don't really, I mean, they trust the sellers and the companies to fulfill on these campaigns, but then the verified piece is the reporting. So having our campaign managers bought into the reporting has really helped from a quality and effectiveness standpoint.
So you actually help the rep report how the campaign performed directly to the advertiser. You don't you are part of that equation in
If
that.
needed, if needed. I think it's, from our standpoint, we want, like, your client, our clients are our clients, right? Like, we want to make sure that we help our clients retain their business, however we can. And so for some folks, we white label, it is our whole reporting presentation, where we go through very in-depth reports with our clients, either acting as a part of their company in a white label capacity, or if they just want us just to go over it directly as Rambunctious Rhino. But 80% of the time is the white label capacity. We jump on the call with these guys, and we're there to help answer those tough questions. And again, this goes back to the effectiveness, though, is that the people on those calls are the people who are pulling the levers. And so, we don't just have a
There
well-spoken
you go.
account manager who doesn't understand, all the basics and the nuances of the campaign. We actually have the person who's actually doing it. And
But
so,
that
that's
person has skin in the game. That person is doing the campaign for that
Oh
advertiser.
yeah, skin in the game and knowledge about it. I mean, they, oftentimes, I mean, we'll,
There's the missing link. Yeah.
for some clients, we'll pull up the actual, we'll pull up the back end in there and work with the client on it. I mean, I think that that's a big key piece, though, because that one-to-one communication, having the people who are pulling the levers, being on the calls when needed, is a big deal, because a lot of folks have that account manager layer, and while folks are well spoken, they're kind of generalists. They don't necessarily understand all the nuances of the campaign. And then the other piece of that is that we're all paying for that middle person, right? And so by eliminating that, we feel that we've become more effective in our communication, because we have the people who are pulling the levers, talking to the client, to the frontline people, whatever the situation is. And we all don't have to pay for that middle person.
So when all the dust settles, if I want to do a simple programmatic campaign, and I know the nuances are there and but if I want to do a simple extended reach campaign, what's a good margin? That was the question that Jeffrey asked about 5, 8 minutes ago in the
Yeah.
chat room. What is a good
That's such a
margin?
loaded question, Mike.
I know it is, but
So here's the thing with that, though, right? So, like, a good margin is dependent on the different partners that we're talking with. Some folks want 50%. It's basically like, you try to keystone it. And so what we'll do with them is that we'll work with, okay, so what are our target wholesale CPMs? What do you want to clear at? Here's what we recommend. Here's what we're seeing in the bid stream. And so if you cleared here and if you sold at this, then that would be your margin. So we actually work with our clients, you know, uniquely, to come up with whatever margins they want to hit. And so, yeah, so really, I mean, that's the other piece there. I mean, what is a good margin? I think it's situationally dependent. One of the things that we do too from our management fee standpoint is that we tier down our management fees. I mean, we go as low as 4% on some deals. It depends on the volume and that sort of thing. But that allows our clients to be super competitive. I mean, we run campaigns for clients anywhere from $500 a month in media to over $500,000.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is there even a small publisher could be selling a decent campaign to a regional, like to a business in their market and purchase this inventory at much better margins from you then, correct?
Oh, 100%. And it's the margin piece, but it's also the quality piece. Because one of the things that I don't think we talked about is, we report on every domain and app that we run on. So we literally, down to every single impression is accounted for in our reporting. And so, you'll be able to see the quality websites that we run on too.
So let's assume that I'm working in a middle-sized market now,
Mhm.
and I have an amazing O&O. It's something that I'm doing with embedded incredible video and content. I'm using some cool AI tool to create great campaigns for a business. But I know to nail this advertiser, if I go in there and say it's only going to be appearing through my audience, my emails, I'm going to get pushback because maybe we have a paywall or something. So extended reach is critical in my close. Do you follow? I can't go
Yeah.
into that car dealer or that small real estate company. I'm looking or like a 5 truck home improvement team. You see where I'm going?
Mhm.
That's the real meat of what we're trying to sell today. I could come to you and still have a real healthy margin. I could add on maybe cost to you and double it And that would help bring the campaign home. Are you performing campaigns like that now for some markets where you become that secret sauce in order to have them sell those new exciting tools? So they can, do you follow my logic in this question?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Totally 100%. I mean, we work with, uh, I mean, yeah, it's really, I mean, right now, Mike, we run, gosh, I forget the actual number, but it's over 400 campaigns last month. And, those range from, some of the larger ones to folks who are, I mean, literally, $500, display campaigns, but we work with them to make sure that those are effective, at least as effective as they can be there. And
So I,
so,
well, Kathleen asked in the chat, do you have a minimum buy? And the answer is no. You're willing to discuss, $500 campaigns, $1,000 campaigns. You're willing to talk with anyone that needs, okay, we already discussed good margins, but also great reporting and hands-on. I mean, I'm selling it for you here because you're my customer. So let me just say it. Those are the three bullets of what we just discussed. Well, okay, so now we ask you this, and this is a blatant question here from Rudy. Thank you, Rudy. And what makes you different from
I
an?
can't see these, so.
No, you're not supposed to. My job. I'm the
Oh,
host.
okay, good.
You're just the guest. Relax, sit back, pour yourself a drink.
Hmm.
What sets you apart from the other companies? I'm not going to mention the ones Rudy mentioned in the chat room, but you know who they are. When one of them is also in Denver. So if someone said, and I don't want you to trash him, I want to say when someone says, okay, look, why should I work with you? What's your answer? Everything we just discussed?
Pretty much. I mean, I think it's the overall business structure, right? It's management fee across all platforms. It's including the reporting in there. So right there, you've eliminated and or gained back a lot of margin that you were giving away and eliminated some costs. I would say that we're totally transparent as far as every domain and app that we run on. That's rare. Being able to report down to that level, and then also it's the one-to-one communication with your campaign managers.
All right, so let's move on. So let's talk about the publishers themselves. What you talked about great measurement. What should you be measuring? I mean,
Mhm.
boil it down. I know we got a slide to show with this, but
What should we be measuring?
yeah,
As far as from a just like digital campaign standpoint?
yeah. I mean, basically, I mean, you have a slide here that you wanted me to share, or Breed wanted me to share, three ways to fulfillment. And if you didn't see it, let me put it in there. And if you say no, I shouldn't be showing that. But does this?
Different ways that they can fulfill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, and this goes back to the last question, right? Why run with you guys, right? So, we talked about from just what our differentiating factors are, right? Like, management fee across the board, so no programmatic arbitrage. We're including reporting, so you don't have that cost. One-to-one communication with the U.S. based campaign managers. But, going back to this, so I guess, in general, though, a lot of places, they have kind of three options for how they want to fulfill, right? Like one of it's building in-house, the other one would be outsourced to another partner, which, some folks might be talking about, who primarily do wholesale CPMs on programmatic, and they also may tie into different platforms and things like that where you have to pay seat licenses. And the third way is white label, right? Which management fee based, which is the way that we approach it. I'd say that, building a team in-house, the fully loaded math is tough. I've experienced the different companies where we had an in-house team and where we outsourced. And I think that, when you look at building an in-house team, there's a lot of costs there, right? It's the salaries, it's the benefits, obviously, it's the platform seats, it's the training, it's the turnover. I think that, one of the biggest issues though that we ran into in the past with building in-house teams is that, you can't just hire a search person. You can't just hire a social person. You can't just hire somebody to do all the tag management and all the analytics. The analytics are getting more complicated than they ever have been. And that's something too that our team handles for our clients, is that we do all the tag setup and that sort of thing. But when you're building in-house, you can't just hire one of these folks. You got to hire somebody who's going to be able to oversee these people and hold them accountable. And you're also going to need backups. What if somebody leaves? I think one of the biggest problems with the in-house is that you have to overhire. And oftentimes our clients and folks in the media industry, we don't have that kind of a runway to be able to hire the team you need and then be able to have the revenue catch up to that. And so I think that, that's one of the toughest things to do. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and then yeah, so
All right, so let's turn a corner now, and one of the
uh,
coolest solutions I think you have is a calculator. And we should. This is really cool. Are you going to demo it, or do you want me to do it? Do you have it?
I mean, yeah, I wasn't planning on doing it. Bree told me that you guys might want me
I can
to,
bring it up right now, and you can tell me what to do.
however you want to do
All
it.
right, so
Yeah.
let's talk about this. This is a if a publisher listening today wants to pressure test their own digital services profitably, where do they start? And we have a QR code we can share, but right now
Yeah.
let me first bring up the calculator and let's see if this works, guys. They say you should never be live on the internet. Do you see it now, Zach? Is it up there?
Yes,
And
yes,
I
yes.
and I now have it set to media company. So I love these slide bars. I feel like I'm about to buy a used car. You know what I mean? When my
They call
phone.
me a used car
All
dealer.
right, so what's a monthly
Joking.
spend goes down to whatever the heck I want. So what do you think I should set it at to start? Just let's say 5,000. Is that a good number?
If you would like.
All right, come on, walk me through this. Now,
Well, I mean, I would, total monthly media spend. I mean, I'd say around 50K because, if you think about it, remember, like this is for all clients that somebody's
oh,
running, right? So
oh,
this
of
is
course.
this
Okay,
is
now
all the clients. Yeah.
this is not for
I
an
mean,
individual client. This is my whole company's investment in
correct.
extended reach inventory. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So now, what is define programmatic
So
allocation?
this is a key piece to being able to get your costs in line and your margins better is a programmatic piece. So what percentage of your sales is programmatic? By programmatic, I mean targeted display, streaming audio, connect TV, video, everything that's bought and sold through a DSP. So typically it's around 30%.
Yep, I would say that's
Um,
about right. And that includes all of it. I mean, everything. You just said even OTT, right? Whatever you're.
yeah, correct. Which I mean, huge opportunity. I know we don't have enough time to get into that right now, but just being able to offer CTV and OTT through us with our model has allowed our clients to become extremely competitive because they're not paying. That's where the biggest arbitrage is right now is in the CTV area. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, just yeah. Anyway, I'll
Well,
let you
that's
continue.
most probably the predictions are that's broadcast's, way of trying to survive in a world where they know that their linear broadcast station is not as powerful in the market than the streaming content. So when they sell an advertiser their linear, they can put them into the OTT universe. Am I saying that correctly? But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
any media company can. If I'm producing video for an advertiser, why the heck am I not tacking on OTT and sticking it in front of all those extra eyeballs, which can be easily programmatically sold? In other words, just a few years ago, OTT did not have the targeting it has today. Correct?
Mhm. Correct. Correct. Yeah. And also the inventory. One of the things that I don't know if everybody on the call is fully aware of, depending on how they buy, but CTV inventory is actually the cost of CTV inventory has gone down. So I don't know if anybody's experiencing that from their vendors, but I don't know if anybody's been lowering their prices.
I agree. All right. So now, do I hit the next button?
Yep.
Okay. So what I'm define what I'm reading here.
So basically, so we give two kind of paths, right? Like a more conservative path where the arbitrage with the markup on programmatic may be only 75%, labor savings lower. I always do the conservative one. However, my team typically does a typical industry because that's what we experience most of the time. And then if you click down on media mix allocation, you can customize this based on, what your own company's media mix allocation is, right? So like before, we put programmatic at 30%, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 10, maybe search is 90% and everything else equals 10. And so you can adjust this based on your own realities.
And then you have your reporting stack.
Yep, yep. What's your software costs monthly? You can put that in there, and then the time spent on reporting has a calculation for how many full-time employees or yeah, how many full-time employees
Yeah.
that would take to execute.
Which most people have a half. I agree. In today's
Yeah. Maybe we can find half people out there
That's
to do that.
amazing. And
Uh,
then, and should I look at advanced current fulfillment staff? Oh,
Yeah, this is for some of the larger folks who already have something in-house, right? So like, we also, we talked about in-house teams before, we also work with a lot of partners in a hybrid capacity where they have an in-house team, they run certain campaigns, but the problem that they have is being able to scale, right? And so, we provide that release valve for them.
this is amazing. Now, if someone wants to perform this, I'm going to ask Bree in the chat room to put a link to the calculator, if you would, Bree. Those of you that are watching this recording, you know it's going to be on the landing page for this webinar. We always do a landing page with a write-up. We offer links, what have you. And I believe that's a QR code that Bree we'll have that on the page as well. But those that are live, feel free to snap that on the screen. I've never seen that before, Zach. Is that calculator getting a lot of use now? Are you getting it out to the industry and showing people? Whether they use you or not, it's a good way to figure out how to make your extended reach programmatic buys much more profitable, correct? And see where the money's leaking
Yeah.
and use your.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you wow. It gives you a really good baseline. I mean, we built that based off of our experience. I mean, literally, I've been in media since I was freshman in college, selling ads in my college paper. And the experience from that and just understanding the background numbers and everything, that's how we built that. So yeah, I think it's a great tool for people to get a kind of baseline understanding of where they could
All
save
right.
margin.
We got some questions I want to address here, if you don't mind. Jeffrey's asking, and I hope I get this right, without naming the company, a competitor, not our partner, has minimum impression levels that I feel are too high and exclude smaller businesses. I've heard this before. When
Oh,
I mean, because there, I am flabbergasted when I watch now. I watch, obviously, like everyone, a lot of streaming. I mean, all the time, and I see small restaurants in my neighborhood on television now. On this, they're
yeah,
buying,
yeah.
they're buying, and it's. I went to one. It actually motivated me to take my daughter for a daddy-daughter night to a
Oh,
local
wow.
restaurant because of that impression. Is there are your minimum sky high? I think that's what he's asking. Or can it, if I got a small business, restaurants have tight margins and they might
Yeah,
be locally owned. Can I work with you on a small campaign like that?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Okay, like we don't have these strict minimums on anything. I mean, we literally don't because look, our we trust our partners. Like I trust the frontline salespeople to do what's best for their clients. And look, man, like sometimes, yeah, there are smaller businesses who need effective solutions, and we don't want to box them out. So if our partners think that this is a good solution for a client, look, like if we have reservations about it, we'll bring it up. But we're not trying to dictate your sales strategy either. I mean, that's something that we didn't talk about here either. But like yeah, there's no minimums like that. Because I know that. I mean, I know that people are going to try to do the best thing they can with their clients based on the budgets that they have, and we'll work with folks. If we see something that doesn't make sense, we'll talk to them about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, our customers are our customers. So
And again, we're getting, these webinars run between 45 minutes to an hour.
yeah,
We're getting closer to the end of our journey. So if anyone else in the chat
good.
room wants to bring up a topic, we're going to bring it up to our expert here. But I had a question that was, remember, those that register for the webinar just had a chance to also ask question. Peter, who I know it from a pretty large Canadian media company, I'm not going to mention his last name or the company, asked, we're doing things in-house. Now, many
Mhm.
media companies, he's got what about, I think, 11 or 12 operations, small to medium markets. We're not talking huge major cities, but sometimes I feel, Zach, that the guys in house want to keep jobs, so they convince management that I can go, I'll purchase the inventory, I'll manage it for you, I'll do everything, I'll buy the reporting structures, all that and more. And I, as a publisher, outsource everything. I have no tech people on my team because I find that I get the latest technology. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I invest every dollar I can in content if you follow. That's where my margins go. I can get another story. I can get another page view. I can get. So
Yeah.
my question is, the question he asks is, should I outsource this whole thing and kill my in-house fulfillment team? Um, I think you're building a case that outsourcing is the way to go today. Do you agree, sir? If you were running a
I
media
don't see
company,
how a media company can scale and keep costs in line without it. I mean, we work with clients who have their in-house teams, and I think that, we found some good synergies there too. But yeah, I think that, there's a good case to be made for that. I don't want, folks to have to, to necessarily lose their jobs, but yeah, there's obviously a case for outsourcing. It's more efficient. It's, one of the things that I ran into when I was overseeing, different digital, sales and ops teams is that it pencils better, and you don't have, and the other thing too is a siloed knowledge base. One of the good things about that our partners who do have in-house teams as well have found that working with us is that we're able to develop a lot of synergies there, because like we see things that they don't see, because we're running so many different campaigns in so many different markets, from across yeah. So I think that, we see things that they don't see, and not having that siloed knowledge is very beneficial, but there's obviously a case to outsource a lot of this.
I can't agree more. I mean, especially if I outsource my first party data management to a company that does an amazing job, that's constantly teaching me ways that I'm screwing up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that to me is no, especially when they because I have a 30,000 active email database, and I had it at 50 and 60,000. I know this is not your expertise, maybe it is first party. I had it at 60 so I could brag to people. I have, but they said you got to trim this, and why? And they almost like slapped me down because they're experts at understanding the best way for me to get that engagement. I outsource my everything. I mean, design, the whole thing, because I can stay cutting edge. And I hate to say that, but I think that's a smart way to go. And you guys' mission is that, you can learn from one market, correct, or one client, and then work with that
Yeah.
to another. All right. So the next thing I want to ask you is, what question should every publisher, we're getting near the end of the journey. So, I mean, I already see someone in the chats asking you to contact them. So you may have a new customer there, but what question should every publisher ask a fulfillment partner, or even ask themselves about their current setup before renewing with a current partner or signing a new one? What questions do you think a publisher on this webinar or watching the recording should be asking you or their fulfillment partner today?
Well, okay. So if we're talking about just talking to a fulfillment partner, I would say the first thing we talk about pricing structure, right? So how are things, how are yeah, how are they selling the services to you? The selling programmatic at a CPM wholesale to, or buying it that way, that people are losing a lot of money there. I think the second piece is the transparency, and this kind of goes to it, right? Because the problem with, buying programmatic at like a wholesale CPM is the incentive structure. So like let's say, sell to you guys for $3. Well, then, that company's incentive is going to be to buy the cheapest inventory you can. And I think that
Right.
goes to the next piece. Can you show me a replacement? Because, good things aren't cheap, cheap things aren't good, right? And I think that, first of all, most people won't show you a replacement. They'll show you some of them. They won't show you all the stuff at the bottom. And that's where that transparency is, because like if you're buying bad inventory, your clients aren't going to get results. The other piece is this, how do they run these campaigns? Like I talked to a partner the other day who was telling me, hey, we're getting CTV for $15 CPM. First of all, it's not CTV. And when they pulled back the layers of the onion and started reading their agreement, oh, it's 60% CTV, 40% cross-device video. It's not CTV. Your clients are expecting CTV, and you're not selling it to them, and they're not going to get CTV results. So I think, again, can you show me every placement? Who does the work? Is it, who's actually managing my campaigns? Where are they located? Do I get a dedicated campaign manager? Am I just in like some kind of ticket or a queue? where there's not that, full context behind the campaign. I mean, that is one of the biggest benefits of having that one-to-one communication and having an assigned campaign manager that you can talk to over time. They understand the context of the advertiser. They understand what's happened. I mean, we've been working with partners now for 5 years who, I mean, we know what their clients are, we know how they plan out their media. We're ready for graduation, we're ready for back to school, we're ready for Thanksgiving, we're ready for the different holidays. And I think that's a big piece of who's actually doing the work. Is reporting included? A lot of fulfillment places will include it, but how much? And if they don't, you're going through, a handful of software companies that are, charging a good amount of money monthly, and you still got to run it. Channel coverage is huge. Do they run on all channels? Like we talked about before, I mean, like there's a new platform every day, whether it's, Blue Sky, TikTok, Reddit, can they execute across these channels? Because if they can't, and if your frontline salespeople are out there talking to clients and they're looking at them as a trusted advisor, which they are, and they ask them about Reddit and they can't do it, or TikTok, we're not there yet, or Chat GPT ads,
And
you
it's
know.
amazing. Gordon was on my show, my regular vodcast, explaining that the knowledge base, even of the small businesses that today, has risen. So
Everybody's knowledge base.
has
Yeah,
risen. He said they've moved, and he showed a graph. He used to say novice to expert level, and they're moving in that direction in mass. And
yeah.
if you can't provide what they, if someone says, well, can you help me on Reddit? And the rep goes, well, I'm not sure. It's better to know that you can provide anything and everything in today's competitive environment.
100%. If not, you're leaving an opening for a competitor who can do that. Oh, really? Well, they're only limited to these things. They're not that advanced. We can cover everything. Why don't you give us your whole budget? I mean, that's where people lose. And the last piece though that I think you need to ask yourself though, Mike, before you forget, is sales confident in the product? Like, is your sales team confident in the solutions that you're providing? Because if they're not, it ain't gonna work. Because we know that nothing happens till something gets sold, right? So I think that's the biggest thing too. Is are your frontline people, are they confident in what you're doing?
All right, so let me ask you, maybe I'm getting off topic here and just going to pick your brain. AI and automation is arriving, it's here. And every platform is pushing publishers and advertisers to hand over more control to the AI world. Looking
Yeah.
ahead over the next few months or years, what's real, what's hype, and what should publishers actually do about AI and automation, especially when it comes to being able to offer extended reach at the best margins?
Well, okay, so I guess, yeah, first thing is, quick show of hands. I know people can't really do this, but who here wants to hand their advertisers' budget to big tech's AI bots and hope for the best?
The answer is
I
no.
mean,
No.
Nobody does, and neither do the advertisers. I mean, this has been some kind of fever dream of the tech companies, of Google, Meta, whoever, since they first came out, right? Oh, we're going to cut out the agencies, we're going to cut out the media companies, and Mary's Pie Shop is going to start running Meta ads. Like that's just like nonsense. Especially when you start thinking about with the different attribution realities. I mean, most of the work behind, well, not most, but a good amount of the work behind these campaigns is just setting up the attribution, which is very difficult because you have to do that for every platform. So I mean, I just don't see a world where, Mary's Pie Shop, Mary's a, hard worker and stuff, and she's not going to want to go run her meta campaign and her search campaign, or it's just that whole idea is nonsense. The thing though that we are seeing right now from the AI piece is AI optimization. I mean, our clients who are doing AI optimization through us are just, I mean, they are seeing good results, but like their clients are just buying it right now. And it's, it reminds me of when we were working on SEO decades ago, in the beginning,
Yes.
where it's needed right now. Clients are asking for it. I think that that's something that we're going to see a lot of growth in, is the AI optimization piece.
All right, but it's you don't want to turn the keys to the candy store over to a bot in today's world. It's especially when
No, no, no. And when I say AI optimization, I mean being found by the LLMs when somebody asks, who's the best plumber in, Nashville or wherever,
right.
right? And like making sure that you get recommended. I see that is real, but I don't, putting your money in a black box for Zuckerberg to run your campaign to wherever. I mean, we know that stuff doesn't work. I mean, Facebook with their Advantage Plus, where it's just, hey, just we'll just run it on our network, or Google Search Network partners. It's just
No,
it's not.
I mean, as head of sales for my operation, people know my background. I'm an old sales warhorse. We all know that old adage, which is true. It takes more energy to get a new customer than to keep one happy. If
Okay.
you're going to start selling crap, excuse my language, just because it's cheaper and faster and it doesn't truly deliver the results for the advertiser, you're going to lose that advertiser. And how hard did you work to get that advertiser?
Oh,
So,
100%.
that's the
100%. It
key.
is, well, years of trust.
Right. I mean, that's everything to me.
Uh-huh.
And we do not, I do not sell crap, and I would never want to do that. So final takeaways. We're near the end of our journey. The chat room has had a few questions we've addressed. I looked over the list of questions from people who sent them, and you've addressed those as well. Give me the three takeaways from today that you would like people to know from what we've covered. What are the three aha things?
I think, first of all, I'd say that communication matters. Allowing that one-to-one communication between a US-based campaign manager and your teams, it's going to allow you to move quicker and deliver higher quality campaigns at scale. I think, your margin problem, if you have one, is usually a structure problem. It's not a sales problem. And that's things from, high cost reporting to CPM based pricing and hidden markups that, work against you. Last thing, yeah, move with the market. I mean, that I think is key. In order to be competitive, you got to be able to effectively execute it across multiple platforms that your clients want to be on. And every day there's a new one. That doesn't mean you have to jump to it, but you need to know about it. You need to be able to execute on the ones that work.
I I have a personal question I'd like to ask you. Why did you name your company Rambunctious Rhino?
I wish I had a good story for that. No, I mean, like in general, I mean, who doesn't want to get a little rambunctious with their advertising? But
Okay.
no, we just, it was an interesting name that we thought would stand out. And the beauty of being white labeled in the back end is that you get away with a weird name that's hard to spell.
Zack Watson, the CEO founder of Rambunctious Rhino, and someone who's been through those hard and easy years of digital growth in the news publishing industry. First of all, again, personally, thank you for your support of our mission at ENP. Secondly, thank you for providing some, I think, really good insights today with a very critical question. If we are going to sell digital services, when many say we have to get in the door, especially in today's world where everything is small and medium-sized businesses, that seems to be the future of a
Yeah.
local media sustainable model. Make sure you're making some money out of it. Damn it, get rid of the leakage, as you call it, right? And squeeze every dollar you can, so you can continue to support your mission of providing good journalism and serving your communities. Zach, any final thoughts? We really appreciate this.
I just, I appreciate everybody's time. Look forward to hopefully working with for newspapers and publishing companies. I mean, I came up through the newspaper space, even published a weekly newspaper for a handful of years. And look, I think that the mission is very important. I mean, it's the fourth pillar of democracy. We got to make sure that we support it through our advertising efforts too. So appreciate everybody's time.
All right, everybody have a great day. Thanks.